So today, look, this was a request from a lot of our customers about what sort of content should we put into our new hire journeys, and more specifically into our new welcomes platform that complements what a lot of you are already using, or I'd say the majority of you are using, which is our offers product, which is obviously capturing all those important details at the start, getting them ready to accept that offer and getting them ready to onboard into the company. I wanted to start with, a lot of where we focused over the years has been around that transactional onboarding piece. But in the last couple of years, the engagement side of onboarding has really come to the forefront. And these are just snippets of articles that are kind of out there at the moment that you see popping up probably in your feeds around the importance of onboarding. And when they talk about onboarding in that holistic sense, they talk about really post-offer acceptance. I've accepted the offer. A lot of companies call that pre-boarding. What happens now? So that's the time before they start, those couple of weeks before they start, day one and ongoing. And really today, that's what this webinar is about. I keep saying webinar. What this masterclass is about is giving you some content tips and really looking at what we've seen from our customers and what's out there and what actual organizations are doing in those journeys. I think that's really important. So as you know, our solution is a broad platform. We started with the job offers module, and we've now branched into what we call the welcomes journeys, which is, from a marketing speak, it's that interactive onboarding. And then we go through into smooth role transitions, which a lot of you would know as crossboarding, and then offboarding. But when you look at it from an employee engagement, employee experience perspective as well, what we've done with our welcomes platform can also be used for role transitions and also offboarding. And we're not going to touch on that on the webinar, but I think, it's good to understand and have tucked away in the back of your mind that that's how you could use this platform as well. Wanted to touch on sort of the methodology. Yeah, we got to have a cute dog, We like dogs here at HROnboard. Well, most of us do, don't we, Michelle? She doesn't say anything. What we've tried to do with understanding what are the elements, what makes up a great onboarding journey. And look, we've spoken to hundreds of companies. We've also studied what some of the leading companies out there do who have the resources to have dedicated onboarding teams. And really you can distill it down into 4 key pieces. One is about culture. How do we put our values, our vision and our culture forward? Not only of the company, but the team they're joining. And I really have this, onboarding needs to be personalized. You can't just have a generic experience because there's so many different functional areas. There's so many different locations and job types. You really need to personalize onboarding, and the culture of those teams is really important. The next one is about objectives and expectations. So when you're designing that onboarding journey, and we'll show you some examples of this, how do you ensure the new starter understands their position in the organization, what their role is in their career progression? And some of the things about, again, it's that company, team and role sort of hierarchy that you want to be thinking about and drilling down into those areas. And again, different stages of the onboarding journey, it depends where you should introduce these things over the onboarding journey, whether that's day one or ongoing. Administrative, everyone here knows there's a lot of admin and onboarding. You can't get away from that. There's so much in onboarding, which obviously is something our offers module covers really, really well as well. And finally, last but not least, is team. So how do we integrate the new starter into the team and the people they'll be working with? One of my favorite sayings is that I think I stole from someone else is onboarding is a team sport. And I really believe that because people, those first impressions on their first day, first week, all comes down to that team they're joining and how they were accepted into that team. So when it comes to creating a great onboarding journey, it's incorporating those 4 areas and breaking those down into elements over the time period, which is what this slide looks like. So this is an example of all the different things you could be doing over the onboarding journey, and we break it into sort of 3 main time periods, which is before their first day, and usually what I'd say that's from accept offer, because what our offers product does does a lot of that admin side before first day, but there's so many other components you need to be thinking about that they could be doing before first day, then on their first day and thereafter. Now, whether you like to think your onboarding goes up until 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, or sometimes it's first week. There's people in retail, once you're done in your first week, you're experienced. So whether it's a long or short period, there's still components there you need to think about. I'm going to briefly just touch on each of these areas a little bit, but really what I want to do is stop showing you slides and get into the product, into welcomes, and show you how this breaks down a little bit more. What we do before first day, I think before first day, it's really more just, I won't talk about admin because you guys know about admin. It's really about the culture and continuing the story you started in recruitment. There's so much effort spent on recruitment and the employer value proposition and employer branding. Continuing that story before day one's really important. Objectives can be pretty light. I think that the main thing here over admin is team. Starting to introduce the new hire into the organizations, building relationships, and we'll show you some cards and examples there. What I might do actually is I'll skip into the product because I want to come back to these slides and talk about them as we look at the product as well. So I might just...
You're going rogue, Pete?
I'm going rogue.
Ooh.
I like going rogue. Okay, because usually I will go... Now, can you see my screen, Michelle?
I can.
Nice. Should I full screen it? Maybe that's better. Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. So this is for people who aren't familiar with our welcomes product, this is what we call welcomes, the way you can design those ongoing journeys for new hires to keep them engaged over that period of time. And really, the crux of a journey is what we call like the journey template. And you can have lots of different templates for different types of new starters and things like that. You could do, like you see here, there's a Melbourne office move or a parental leave. So we talked about use cases where you can do journeys for different types of things. But we'll just talk about new starters at the moment. Now, one thing we recognized when we were building welcomes is that finding ideas and content to know what to put into an onboarding journey is probably the most difficult thing for HR, because you'll have a lot of content already that you've developed for your induction and onboarding. Usually, I like to joke it's in a 100-page PDF document. We've seen a few of those. We've seen a few of those. And the common complaint is just information overload. It comes in all in one wave, and people just forget it because the first couple of days of a new job is so overwhelming. You just not absorbing all that information. So the idea with welcomes is you can drip feed that over a period of time, and how you design those journeys is in these journeys, in the journey templates. What we've got in welcomes is you can create a new journey, and let's call it the Masterclass onboarding journey. And the reason why I want to show you creating a new journey, and we'll select a journey type, which is onboarding. What's really important here is there's a checkbox here saying include our recommending onboarding content and activities. So what we do at HROnboard, because we see and have access to so many different types of onboarding journeys through our customers and through the research we do, we want to keep embedding that. I hate the term best practice because it gets used a bit, but you know, just what people are doing out there. And of course, this is very tailored to your organization, but if you can get ideas and understanding from others, all the better. So if you click that checkbox when you create a new journey template, it gives you all of our ideas, and you'll see that when I start building. So here what you've seen is all of a sudden defaulted in. This is a journey template, and it's broken up into 3 main time buckets: before first day, on the first day, and after first day. And you can see there's little increments after these. These are what we call cards. Now, a card can be content, it can be a task, it can be a couple of other little things, like in terms of showing them how to get to work. It can be a whole bunch of different things. And as we keep developing the product, we're adding more and more features into what these cards can do. But basically what it allows you to do is start mapping out the journey for a new starter. One of the things I think, and if we concentrate on before day one, because the research we've seen and what our customers see is there's a big opportunity that once they accept their offer, you know, they might have 2 weeks to start, they might have 4 weeks, they might have 2 days. But that is an opportunity to keep that new starter engaged. It's also an opportunity to get people like team leaders and other people introducing those other elements to the new starter. One of the things I wanted to talk about is what we call on-journey run. So when you add a card to a journey, you can have cards that will appear to the new starter in their portal on journey run. And it's important to consider some initial cards that they should see. So in our content, we've got here a message from our CEO. So this, and you can see again in the default content, I've now put these tips for content creators, so you can delete that. Obviously you don't want the new starter to see the little tips. That's just some little guidance text you can delete, but it's really good. And again, we put some example content in here. You obviously don't want to use Intuit's CEO
No.
in your welcome.
No.
But these are some of the things that, you know, in the recruitment process, you've probably got some collateral and video and things like that you're showing. But I think what I like to, and what we see is that, you know, you start to open the kimono a bit more and show material that you wouldn't show candidates. But now that they've accepted their offer, they're an employee, or they're going to be starting in a few weeks. You can start to show a bit more about who you are and what you do. So I think on that journey run, you know, a message from the CEO, you might do an about us card. And again, we've got some video. I think video really works better. You're going to say something, Michelle?
Yeah. I think a really good question is we need to really explain what on journey run is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, sorry. Okay.
That's right.
On journey run is basically when this journey, all these cards start getting sent to the new starter. Now, typically, if you're an offers customer, that will happen as soon as they, I've got to get my terminology right here, as soon as they accept the offer or complete the offer workflow. So if you're looking at the offer file in offers, we can trigger this journey to start either when they accept the offer or they complete all their paperwork. It's up to you to decide that. But typically, whatever the latter stage of that is. So if you've got offer accept first and then paperwork second, the journey would start when they accept when they finish their paperwork. We're actually doing some work at the moment to make that transition between them accepting their offer and going to the welcome journey a lot more seamless. So watch out for that over the next couple of months as that transition. There's what we call a next steps page in offers that will slowly start transitioning straight through into the welcomes journey for the new starter. So hopefully that explains what on journey run means.
Or if you're not using offers and you're using welcomes as a standalone app, it's just purely when you create the new hire and you send and you basically send it out. So it's the very first step in the process.
Yep. So that'll go as soon as you create the journey for a new starter. The other thing I like to do in before day one is getting familiar with things. So we have this we have a couple of special cards in welcomes. One is our directions card, and that works off, basically there's nothing to edit in this card, but it basically, once you play that card, and you can see it's grayed out in the sidebar because it's already in the journey, that just gives you, uses Google Maps functionality, and it basically just gives them direction from their address, their house, to the work location. And again, if you're an offers customer, that will just come through from their the new hire's address, and the work location, I think, is mapped to our locations.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's just mapped to the location that comes through. So that's, again, just getting them familiar. They can see what they want. They can see how they get to work. The other big one I like is about the team leader. Now, the team leader is an ongoing challenge, you could say, I think, for organizations. One thing I just added into this template is there's two things I want to show you here. One is a little nudge to the team leader, and thanks to one of our customers, I got this idea from one of our customers, Sun Super. I'll shout out to Sun Super here.
Yeah.
So what they do is they do a little nudge to the team leaders, because you can assign cards and a task to either the new starter or the team leader. So this one would go out to the team leader. Sorry, that's my SMS thing, which is all linked to my iPad, which is linked to my computer. These days it's all connected. What this is doing is nudging the team leader, and again, we're using placeholders to personalize this because it's great to use placeholders. It's just saying, dear Michelle, you've just hired Peter, and they'll be starting up with your team very soon, which means it's time to start planning. We kind of give them did you know 60% of new employees make a decision about whether to stay with their new employer within the first month. So first impressions matter. We're just trying to train the team leaders that it's really important to look after your new starters. And I think that's really key. And you can give them, just a little bit of tips and tricks about what that new starter experience is going to look like. So that is a card that goes to the team leader. And you can see cards that go to the team leader because they have that little buddy icon or that little two-person icon next to them. The other team card we like to play is what we call the team welcome. And this is basically when a new starter starts their journey, the team leader will get notified to leave a welcome message for the new starter. And you can default what's in that message. So when the team leader sees it, they'll get a prompt saying, hey, Michelle's just started, leave her a message, and here's a defaulted message we've already prepared for you. So you can either edit that and send it, or you can just hit send. But it's just a little bit of personalization that comes through. As the onboarding designers in your organization, you can again default, what this is going to say. And look, you keep it pretty light and breezy, basically. But again, it's that personal reach out to the new starter. Just seeing what else I wanted to highlight.
There's a question that's come in, Pete, which is a good one.
Yeah.
So we have some customers who have really quick starts. So the letter of offer might not be accepted until the Thursday, and they've got to start on the Monday. So what's kind of a minimum sort of send before day one? Yeah. So what's good for those quick turnarounds?
Yeah, I think it's everything you see there, which is on journey run. So how many cards is that? 5 cards on Journey Run.
Yeah.
Don't forget, these cards will, if you have someone, and we have this sometimes where, usually it's a 4-week wait, but you hire someone and like for some reason they can start like Monday.
Yes.
So you need to compress the journey. By default, what the application will do, it will give you all those cards, because if you're starting on a Monday, something that's coming out 7 days before will just come out straight away.
Anyway,
it'll compress the journey.
Yeah.
But and again, this was my overall tip with this on the slide at the end, where I'm talking about, I think you need to start small with these journeys and then expand. Now, I know there's a lot of content in this default template. My tip is start small, then go large, and just consider some initial cards on Journey Run, and then tackle things like team leaders later. Yep. So this is kind of the Nirvana journey I'm showing you here. But yeah, I think if you're just starting, because particularly team leaders, I think you need, from what we've seen in our experience with our customers, they take a little bit more encouragement to do things, particularly on the task completion rates we've seen for team leaders are really poor. That they complete tasks and they even do the team welcome. Now, we try and make this really, really easy. So there's no authentication for team leaders and new starters. We use these magic links. So you click on the notification and they just go through. They don't have friction of username, passwords and things like that. You can use username, passwords if you want, but by default we don't. There's a whole bunch of things we've learned along the way and that we're just trying to improve to get more engagement.
But we've got lots of customers who have only got 4 or 5 content just for new hires, and they're already seeing an impact.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true. I want to keep jumping because I know we're tight on time, because I could talk about this for hours.
He could go on all day, guys. So come on, Pete.
Okay, so I did want to talk about first day a little bit. So you can see there just on before day 1, we've got some other cards. One thing I will point out, because Google did this really well, is called a just-in-time team leader reminder. And so you'll see there's this task here for the team leader 1 day before the start date. And we put this in because this is something Google did. There's a well-known case study Google did a few years ago where they found like a 25% increase in new hire retention by implementing this team leader reminder, which would go to the team leader the day before the new starter's starting, saying, hey, here's 5 things you need to remember to do. And we've mimicked this. We're saying, hey, Michelle's starting tomorrow, a few things to remember. Like just really simple stuff, right? Yeah. But I mean, we talk about this in our roadshows and that, like everyone's got a new starter horror story, and it all revolves around day 1 and that first couple of weeks and how they felt. It's all about how people feel. And I know that's a hard ROI. It's a hard one to prove from a return on investment. But I think we understand now we're all hiring people for their minds, not their bodies and their hard labor. So you really need to capture people emotionally as well as from a work level. Okay, I'll keep moving. First day. First day's a tricky one, and I think I'm kind of careful how much you want to give on first day, because remember the way we send notifications, and notifications are still a bit of a bugbear with us in welcomes, and we're smoothing that out better. Time zones, time is a weird concept because you could have people in all different locations, so you need to consider that. I think if you've got some mandatory training, so I've got a couple of examples here of a task which is like a manual handling safety video, which is just a video, and it's a task that they can mark as complete. I've also got an example in here which is an external content lesson linking to an LMS, and in this case it's going to the Elmo LMS, it's going to a course content in Elmo, it's the workplace bullying. You still need to log into that, but it will link you out to your LMS to do that, because a lot of this mandatory learning might be there. So I think, and again, it's up to you. You can put mandatory learning before day one, because some people will do it, some people won't do it. The one I like, we do a lot, is this Places Near Me card, which is just basically saying, where do you eat? And again, when you edit this card, there's not much to edit, but the way it displays to the new starter is it shows you, again, it uses Google Places, and it just shows you cafes and restaurants around your work location. And it's pretty cool because you can click on it and you get the links.
And we've got lots of environments where that is simply the only thing that gets sent out on first day, because you guys know there's so much that happens on day one anyway outside of this. So even if you have that in there, I think that's a great start.
Yep. Okay, I'll keep moving.
Yep.
Post day one, there's a couple of things I really like. I think surveys, you should be surveying the new starters, and you can, and where is this? Rate your onboarding. So here's one. And again, we call these external content cards because you might be using whatever survey tool you're using, SurveyMonkey, Jotform, that sort of thing. It's just rate your onboarding. So you link out, in this example, it's just going to a Jotform one where the new starter can just give a simple survey in terms of what's going on. The other thing I like nudging is the, I'm a big, one of my sort of pet peeves is around probation management, because I think organizations don't do it well enough. And again, this is putting out tasks for the team leader to tell them they need to do schedule their probation, whether that's first week, first month. It depends on, what your practice is. I would recommend you should be meeting with them after the first week and every fortnight until the probation ends. That's what we do here, and we've been doing it for years, and it works really well. Just in terms of, any problems, you can knock them on the head really quickly. You can address issues. It's a great way to make sure you've got the right fit. Employee referrals, I think, is a really good one. Again, I just stole someone's content before because I like this one that one of our customers did. And, if you've got any programs in terms of knowing, little company initiatives, whether it's employee referral program, personal growth date, you can start to trickle those out over time. And again, how often you want to trickle that out, that's up to you. I kind of like, even though it's not represented here, like little batches. So rather than trickle one thing out a week, you kind of just group them up into a couple of different time segments. So that might be at the 2-week mark, at the 1 month mark, so. Because the other thing is you want to be careful about how many interruptions you're giving to new starters, because they'll get a notification when a new card appears. Now, we have a rule in our system that you won't get more than 1 notification a day. So even if you've got 4 things appearing on that day, you'll only get notified either by email or by text message once in that day. You got to be sensitive to interrupting people. But really what you're trying to do, again, is little nudges, little pieces of micro content that are going out to users. So while this is quite a full journey, you can pick and choose what you want to get started. I'll just go back so if you want to see this content in your environment, all you need to do is add a new journey template. I call them journey templates. Add a new template. If you select onboarding and you pick that little checkbox, it'll default in all this content you're seeing. We're constantly grooming that master, what we call our master template. So if you come back to that and add a new template, you'll see our latest thoughts on there.
So Pete, people have already got an environment and are starting to build their own new starter journey. There's nothing stopping them just creating this on the side and referencing it. So you guys should be referencing this for ideas.
Yeah, so you could create an ideas, onboarding on ideas, and don't put anyone on this journey, but just use it. Again, you can see here, I've created an onboarding ideas. You can just use this content. You can copy and paste it. You can't transfer cards between journey templates, just to preempt the question at the moment. But you can see this onboarding ideas is there. My test is there. You can see there's 0 users on this journey. You'll know your main journey and where all your users, which journey your main users are using. And you can just, if you don't want it, you can go and delete the journey and it's all good.
So even if you've got a live one happening, you can still create this. It's not going to impact anything.
Correct.
Just definitely use it as a reference.
Yep. Now let me go back.
While you go back, Pete, there was just one question around functionality, really, about when tasks are due and how does that work. So we say, right, you need to do your probation review meeting, team leader, and it needs to be done within the next 5 days. If it goes, like, how does that all, the reminders work, and how do they know that they've got to do it by the due date?
Okay, so the way reminders work at the moment is you can set, for a task, you can set a due date, and then you can option a checkbox to say send a reminder. A reminder sends just 24 hours before the due date, and that'll be an email notification. I'm not quite sure if it's a text notification. It may be a text an SMS notification. Just to talk a little bit about roadmap, because everyone's always interested in what's coming up. One of the big things we're hearing from our welcomes customers is the ability to customize the messaging in notifications. So that is giving you the ability to use your own language in the emails, the email reminders, the email notifications, the SMS reminders and notifications that go out using your language. So that's something that's scheduled in the next sprint. We kind of do fortnightly sprints here for our different modules or our different products. That's coming out. The other piece around this is just really making sure the time of when notifications going out are right, and making sure how notifications are going out are keeping to some of the rules we've set. So we know personalization of messaging around notifications is really important for people.
It is.
So we are listening. We understand what's important to get that utility out of the product.
Yeah, and we've got another question from Olivia. Hey, Olivia, she's asking if we can attach PDF files to content cards. Content cards, and we can't, Pete, but there's a very good reason why we can't, isn't there?
Yeah, so the PDF, so what you can do is you can link to content. You can embed images and things like that. You can link out to PDF content that's hosted on an external URL. But the PDFs link, because you can't embed a PDF because it won't render properly in the new hire portal. So you either if you want to link to a PDF, it's a link, but you can't actually embed it because it just looks terrible either on a mobile phone or anything. What we'd recommend is the content from that PDF becomes part of the content of the card, or you simply just link out to that PDF.
And linking it out is much easier because you're only having to maintain the content within one place. You don't have to think about, I've got to update information in welcomes now. You want to be able to link out so that you're only just linking out to the source of truth and not having to maintain the content within welcomes too much.
So kind of as a bit of a wrap up, just some tips around using welcomes. Like was mentioned, start small, then go large. We've really seen this can be really overwhelming for teams, particularly if you're implementing offers at the same time. What we're saying to our support and delivery guys is to say basically just a couple of cards on Journey Run, where to eat, how to get to work, CEO welcome, that sort of thing. Just start really small and then go from there. Tackle team leader content later. use some of the provided journey content, just put your branding in it, some of your own terminology, and iterate. I think, pretty much for any big change project that you're doing these days, you just got to have a real agile approach. And we're a very agile-based organization, but just, get the first slice in and then, learn from that experience and keep going. The other one is avoid information overload. So group cards to go in bursts. Again, that's around not over, because if new hires are getting a notification from HROnboard every second day, they're just going to start ignoring it. Same with team leaders. So you got to be respectful of how people consume that content. Understand how notifications are sent. And again, we're doing more work on notifications to make them better, to make them more relevant. So when you do get a notification, you kind of know what's going on. We'll have the ability to choose whether you want just an email versus a text message as well. That's another big feature request, because some organizations don't want people getting SMS notifications, or they don't want the team leader getting an SMS because, depending on the culture and the type of organization.
That actually just goes to a question we've just come in, Pete. Carla's just asked if the reminder notifications to team leaders are received by email alone or email and text. So you can actually, Carla, you can have it so that it is just email alone. You can actually turn off. You can turn off the SMS notifications for team leaders at the moment, so they just receive an email. And then as Pete said, we're looking at making that. Applying that to the new starters as well. The other bit we didn't touch on too much is the personalization aspects, because what you're seeing here, so what you want to avoid is creating journey templates for different roles or locations. What you can use is a feature in the app called streams. So that is within one journey template, you can start to introduce tasks or cards of content that are specific for a particular location or a functional area or a role. I think that's a whole masterclass in itself, to be honest. Using streams, definitely.
The other part of personalization is placeholders, which you saw a little bit of, and that's really good just to personalize the content. The other part of personalization is at an individual level. So we had that question before, what happens if someone's starting like on Monday and you've got all these cards that go out? You can actually drill down into that person's journey and just remove and add cards as you want. So that, and again, if you've got a first day schedule that you want to give someone that's really specific to them, we had some great examples with Roy Hill, fly in, fly out workers and things like that. You can personalize an individual's journey. And probably the other one is team leaders play a role. Again, it's a bit of a struggle, but I think, at a minimum, the team leader welcome message is really powerful, and the just-in-time reminders. They're the two things I'd say are something to use. Okay, any more questions you want to cover off?
Absolutely, from our lovely Kristen. She's mentioned a good one which actually comes up quite a bit. Can we update the new starters email before start date? So before they start, they're using their personal email. And then after first day, it kind of makes sense to transition them to their work email. How are we going to do that, Pete?
Yes. Okay, so the other big thing we've worked on behind the scenes is a whole new authentication model around both of our products. And we've just released into welcomes a new auth model. What that means is how people log in, how they authenticate into the application, how they're represented by emails, mobiles, that sort of thing. I'm not sure right now whether you can, but it's going to be, because it's the same as offers. And basically this auth model we've built is going into both products. So there's no re-logging in between products, either for administrators or for new hires. So the short answer is I'm not sure, but we can come back to you. But if it's not there yet, it's coming in very shortly, because that's a big one. You want to change like email notifications because you only know about their personal email address, and then you know their work email address, obviously, once they go come into the org and you want to change that. So we'll come back to you on that, but I'm pretty sure
you can do it manually at the moment.
Yeah.
So you can edit the details of the new starter, including their email address.
Yeah.
So that's the workaround for the moment, and I know
you
some customers are doing it, but we kind of want to, not have to do that manually.
The issue is knowing the format of those. Like everyone, most orgs have a standard first name dot last name at domain name. But sometimes there's always edge cases to that rule. So the auto allocation of that, you might capture 90% of what you need to do, and the other 10% might need to be manual.
So Josie, just confirming, I know you've just asked, we can edit the details halfway through their journey. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
And I'll take you through how to do that. But I think that goes around what's come out of this masterclass. Is we'll do another one more around, because there's so much to cover, you guys, but more around that real personalization of individual journeys, then role-based, location-based. There's even a lot to cover in that one.
And look, what my aim for the journey side, because I think, again, the ROI on offers is really clear. It's really tangible. The ROI on, engaging with new starters over time and getting team leaders to do things, it's a little bit more nebulous. So, my aim is to try and get a lot of utility out of, for our customers using welcomes, that it can save them time, they can see the results. And certainly the feedback we get from new starters, because they can leave feedback in the app, they can ask questions, is positive. But how you present that business case to your leadership team and say, new starters are feeling great. But what's that doing for your retention? What's that doing for your time to productivity? These are the sort of goals you're working towards. And that, as a software developer, we want to try and keep adding in features that can enable you to win those arguments and to enable you to get more utility in terms of time-saving engagement from both your new starters and admins.
Yep. Cool. All right, I think we did go over. We did cover a lot of content here, but this isn't the last of the story. For this type of masterclass, we will be doing ongoing masterclasses specifically around welcomes. The next one will be around group visibility, which will be next month. But in the meantime, for those who aren't using our welcomes module yet, please speak to Kirsty. She's definitely our onboarding specialist. Her background's in L&D. She's worked in some really wonderful welcomes environments. So her details are here. I'm also happy to direct anyone who's new looking for a demo to Kirsty. So don't worry about remembering her details. I'll just direct you to the right place. Our existing customers, you guys know where to come. We're in constant dialogue with you around how your environment's looking, your engagement. And we really hope this masterclass helped you and gave you some ideas of how to pimp your new starter journey. And we're really, really looking forward to continuing this discussion with you all, because it is quite an exciting topic, and we're just getting some really, really great feedback around the impact that this is having across the wider organisation. So, nice work, guys, and thanks, Pete, for not entirely going to rogue. You could come along again.
I'm invited back. Thanks, Michelle.
Maybe.
Thanks, everyone, and look, always keen to hear ideas, and we're working hard to try and make this as great as a tool as what our offers product is for you all, and to have that really seamless experience across the whole platform.
Yeah, absolutely. And remember, the recording will be on our user group and the slides as well. But just give me a call if you have any questions. No probs. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.